Don't know how to modify existing items in a list? Want to learn how to add new items? Want to know how to remove items from a list? If so, stay tuned. Hello and welcome to Learn Python. In the previous lesson 8, we looked at what a list is, how to access list items using index positions, and how to use list items with string methods and f-strings. In the current lesson number 9, we will extend this by looking at how to modify existing items in a list, how to add new items using append insert and an empty starting list, and finally how to remove items using del and pop. Lists are one of the first major building blocks in Python. Once you understand how to store multiple values and access them correctly, then a lot of topics later become easier. Let us start by modifying an item in a list. This is where lists start to become much more useful in real programs. Type the following: motorcycles equals Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki, and print motorcycles. Take a new line, then write motorcycles, call the 0 index, and assign this Ducati, and print motorcycles. In the terminal output, you can see 2 lines. The first says Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki, probably as expected. But what happened in the second output? Well, what happened here was that we told Python to take index 0, which is Honda, and replace that item with Ducati, and print motorcycles. And as you can see, Ducati came first, then Yamaha, and Suzuki. The rest of the list stays the same in this example. And what you've learned here is very important because a list is not fixed. You can change items after the list has already been created. Let's move to the next part where we will add an item to the end of a list. Now let us add a new item. And the simplest way to do this is with the method called append. Append means to add to the end. So, using our motorcycles example again, Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki, this time let's create a variable called motorcycles, and let's apply the method append and write Ducati, and print motorcycles. Here you will see again Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki has been printed. But using the append method, we now have added Ducati to the end of this list. And that is one of the most common things that you will do with lists. You start with some values and then later your program will add more. Moving to the next part, let's start with an empty list. And this is something even more practical because sometimes you don't know all the values from the beginning. So you start with an empty list and then later build it step by step. So in this example, simply write motorcycles equals, open square brackets and close square brackets. And let's accept the rest where we have appended motorcycles with Honda, also with Yamaha, and also with Suzuki. So let's go ahead and run this program printing motorcycles. What we see is simply Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki has been outputted. And this is a very common pattern whereby a list starts empty, then items are later added one by one. And that is useful when a user enters data, a file is read, or your program discovers new information while running. Moving to the next part, let's insert an item into a specific position. Now let's say that you do not want to add an item specifically at the end, but perhaps you want it at the beginning or maybe even the middle. And for that, Python gives us the insert method. Type this: motorcycles equals, open square brackets, Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, close square brackets, then print motorcycles dot insert with a 0 and Ducati, and print motorcycles. Let's run that. Here we can see the output is Ducati, Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki. So what happened? Well, in this example we inserted Ducati at index 0. And Python made room for it by pushing all the other items to the right. That means that Ducati is now first, Honda moved from index 0 to index 1, and the others shifted along as well. But this is different from the append method, because append always adds to the end, and rather, insert adds to the position that you choose. Let us move to removing an item with del. If you know the position of the item you want to remove, you can use the del. Type this: Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki. Take a new line, print motorcycles. Take another new line, and this time print del space motorcycles 0 in square brackets, and print motorcycles. Run this program. In the output, you can see Yamaha and Suzuki. So, what happened, Honda? Well, simply you have deleted index 0, which in our case is Honda. So the remainder is printed. And this is another important idea. Lists can grow and shrink while your program runs. Moving to the next part, let's remove the last item with pop. Now this is something slightly different. Sometimes you want to remove an item, but also keep it so that you can use it later. And this is exactly what pop does. Run the following. Take a new line and write popped underscore motorcycle equals motorcycles.pop, open brackets, close brackets. A new line, print motorcycles. Another new line, and print popped motorcycle. And run the program. You should see that the list becomes Honda, Yamaha, and additionally the popped value is Suzuki. So pop removed the last item from the list and returned it. And this is very useful because you're not simply deleting the value, you're taking it out and keeping it. So, how do we make that more real? Well, type the following. Type motorcycles equals and assign Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki. Then type las underscore owned equals motorcycles dot pop, open brackets, close brackets, and print the following F string. The last motorcycle I owned was a, open curly braces, last dot title, close curly braces, and a full stop, and wrap everything inside quotation marks. And run this. You should see in the output, the last motorcycle I owned was a Suzuki. And this shows exactly why pop is useful, because it removes the item, but you can still work with this item afterwards. And pop doesn't only work at the end, you can also tell Python exactly which position to pop. For example, type this. Keep the variable motorcycles, assign the values Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki. And this time, write first owned motorcycle and pop 0. Take a new line and print the F string. The first motorcycle I owned was a, and in curly braces insert first owned dot title, and run the program. And here you can see the output. Instead of the last motorcycle I owned was a Suzuki, we have printed the first motorcycle I owned was a Honda. Before we finish, here is a very short practice task for you. What I want you to do is to create your own list with 3 items. You can use anything, for example, foods, games, cars, or countries. And your task is to do the 4 following things. First, change one item in the list. Second, add one new item to the end using .append, open brackets, close brackets. Third, remove one item using .pop, open brackets, close brackets. And fourth and finally, print the final list. Pause the video for a few minutes, then when you finish, play the video again to see my example. So, how did you do? Look at my example and compare it with what you done. This practice will help you understand modifying, adding, and removing items from a list, which is what we covered in the current lesson. And that concludes today's lesson 9, where we learned how to modify existing items in a list, how to add new items using append, insert, and an empty starting list, and finally how to remove items using del and pop. If you like that video, please do leave a like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel. And do join us next time in lesson 10, where we'll learn how to remove an item from a list by value, how to sort a list permanently and temporarily, and finally learn how to reverse a list and find its length.